Hello and welcome to another match that features some cards from the new Dominion expansion, Dominion Plunder. Our first game that had a Plunder card in it is this one, Rope. +1 coin, +1 buy. At the start of your next turn, +1 card, and you may trash a card from your hand. Quite a few effects on it. It's copper, but there's a plus buy in it. You can trash one card at a time. A bit slow, but it's still with consideration. And you get to draw a card as well. Let's see how rope fits into our kingdom here. We did start with the shelters. I mentioned this because that is the only source of plus actions. The necropolis, the sculptor can gain villagers. For example, you could use the sculptor to gain a rope and then you'll get a villager. Silver as well does the same thing. So that is something, I guess, but we are very action limited. It doesn't mean we can't build something here. We can trash very quickly with a combination of rope, amulet, and sewers. We could get imps from Devil's Workshop and horses from liveries. Emissaries can be non-terminal draw if you organize your deck properly. It is possible to build, I think. I initially thought about playing money with Sculptor, but I saw how fast the trashing was, and I thought I can probably build a bit here. Alright, our opponent, I'll just say K because I have no idea how to pronounce their name. They open with a Sculptor on 5-2, which is excellent for them. However, I am able to get to 5 via Desperation here. I think the Sculptor is well worth the curse because primarily it can gain rope and that rope could go into play straight away. I get to keep the villager, I get the rope in play right away. It seems to be worth the curse, especially given that Sewers is in the kingdom to help us clean up. 3 for K is going to be an amulet. I follow them on the amulet. I choose not to put anything in the haven here, whereas K does. Maybe that's right to keep that card in the haven so that it's more likely you see your sculptor and your amulet. They get another 5 though. That I'm not happy to see that. And they get another sculptor, which I think is right. There are many targets on the kingdom for the sculptor, particularly the rope. Alright. We get a hand with all 3 shelters in it, which is not great. I think about gaining a silver so that I can buy another sculptor myself via desperation. But I said, in the end, the rope is probably better. So I get that in place straight away. And 2 could be 4 if I choose to use desperation. I do opt to use the desperation, but not for a card, for the sewers instead. And this time I do store the overgrown estate, one of the shelters, with the coastal haven. I just bought the sewers. I have the rope in play. I'll be able to trash that on my next turn, draw deeper into the deck, and have good chances of seeing my amulet. Sculptor for rope for K as well. They desperation and pick up our sewers of their own. We get to trash a curse and the overgrown estate and a couple coppers with this amulet. Go in very quickly on the trash in. Happy to see that. Get up to 3 could be another desperation for sculptor. Maybe that is right, honestly. I decide on a sage instead. Hopefully that'll get me to my 1 sculptor more often. We get to trash a couple more cards with this amulet, and I will gain another rope with this sculptor. 3 again could be 5 with the desperation. We are trashing rapidly, so the desperation is not that bad. I do get another desperation here. This time I go for the second sculptor. No, the emissary first. I thought maybe I could make it non-terminal draw. It doesn't happen for the rest of the game, so probably a poor buy. K comes out with double sculptor. Very nice for them. They get a rope and a devil's workshop, and that is accompanied by the necropolis as well, so they get to keep all their villagers. the Devil's Workshop gets them an imp. That is a very good turn for them, I would say. Right, Rope trashes one, Suas trashes another one. The Sage doesn't find the Sculptor, unfortunately. It finds the Amulet. I don't want to trash just one card here. Instead, I take a silver, go for Desperation, and now I pick up my second Sculptor. So far, things are about balanced. I think my opponent is a little bit ahead. They have the Devil's Workshop and an Imp. Honestly, that is on first turn, probably. Here they get an Enchantress, which I thought was interesting. I didn't consider Enchantress at all in this kingdom because we had no actions. But they do put down the Enchantress, and it is going to hurt me here, actually. Desperation for them gets them a Sage and an Imp of the Devil's Workshop. The Enchantress hurts because I have to fodder one of my Sculptors. I'm not happy about that. I do burn a Villager here, playing the Emissary to draw deeper into the deck. I gain Devil's Workshop here, and with the Desperation, that'll get me to an Imp. 5, I go for a Livery at this point to start gaining the horses because now I have the Imp in the deck. We'll see how that works out. This is not a great shuffle for me, but we have the Rope. Now K gets the Enchantress draw, and they follow it up with an Imp as well. Plus a Rope, if I'm not mistaken. No, there's no Rope this time. There's no Rope this time. A nice thing you can do with Rope is you can always keep the Rope in play because the Rope draws a card. You play one Rope now. If you have 2 ropes, you play one every turn, and it's fine. It doesn't affect the draw, even though it's not treasure. Alright, so K gets down 3 ropes there. So they'll have a big turn next turn, and they buy their Emissary. And they make much better use of the Emissary than I do here. This is a bad hand, especially given that I burned one of my villagers last turn. I choose to burn the final one here on the Emissary. Hopefully I would find the Necropolis. Doesn't come to pass. Instead, I play both Sculptors. I pick up a silver. Maybe that should have been 2 ropes. Maybe that should have been 2 ropes for the draw. I get the Livery down. Because I don't have the villagers, I can't put the Livery down, then play the Sculptors to gain the ropes, to gain horses, which is sad. And we get up to 6 here. We get up to 6. We will get an Imp because we gained a couple cards of the Sculptor, and we will buy something here, of course. I do go for a Desperation here to get up to 8, solely for the purpose of putting horses in the deck. I want to buy 2 4s, even though they're not good 4s in the kingdom. That's not true. They're 2 ropes. I could buy 2 ropes here. Maybe I should have done that instead of doing what I did, which is a Monument and a Devil's Workshop. I have no plans for the Monument and the Devil's Workshop. They were just there so that I could get horses. I might get some extra imps of the Devil's Workshop, for example, but looking back on it, I think those were poor buys. A couple ropes there were probably better than what I did. I'm okay with gaining the silver because it let me get up to 8 and 2 buys, but I'm not okay with buying Monument and Devil's Workshop in that position. Here's the triple rope turn from K, and they will use their Sculptors now to gain more ropes. They had a big turn. They had a big turn, Imp into Necropolis and then Imp into Emissary, which gave them favors because they gained a silver off the Amulet. They've organized everything well here. And the Enchantress comes down. They get a Livery now. Gets them money, gets them horses. And they put a couple ropes into play. They undo this. They thought there was a 3 pile coming on. Well, curses will run, ropes will run, but there's no 3rd pile right now. However, I think they still opt to get the Livery in this position, just taking better stock of the board. And of course, the Imp comes through for them. Again, the Enchantress hurts a little bit. Given that hand, I was glad I was able to play the Necropolis for +1 card, +1 action. However, if the hand had been different, with more actions in it. I would have wanted the +2 actions from it. The Enchantress is doing something against me. Not really happy about that. I cannot play this Emissary again here. I have no more villagers. We get up to 5. We put down the monument for whatever that is worth. And I do pick up a 3rd sculptor. The sculptors are not bad. Once the rope or the ropes finish, they can be silvers, which are fine. Devil's Workshop here, unfortunately, will not get me to an imp. It'll just get me to another sage. Sage is also fine. It doesn't really help, but it doesn't hurt either in the kind of deck that I have. Now I am well and truly behind. I believe my opponent has more imps than I do. They have more ropes. They are able to gain favors of these emissaries, so they could put cards in havens for the next turn. Gaining horses, using sculptor to gain ropes. I'm not sure where all of this went wrong for me, but it has gone wrong. They will use the last desperation to get up to a 2nd province, and they put down 4 ropes. And I believe they have 3 more of them for the next turn. Draw is not an issue for them, is what I'm saying. And we are 2 provinces down. We get Trash a Curse. I get rid of this other Devil's Workshop. I don't really see a purpose for it. Imp connects with a Sculptor. 2nd Imp connects with a Livery. All I can do is get a province and a horse with it. Pass it back to my opponent. This Emissary will finally trigger. Finally. One of the last turns of the game. However, it's a bit too late for me. All these imps are connecting with horses, letting them draw all the way through the deck here. They gain the last rope as well. Get a horse for it. Silver. Enchantress comes down finally. Almost up to double province. Province Duchy is definitely good enough to maintain the position of dominance. Nothing to trash here. We fodder the Sage to the Enchantress. We get some draw from the Emissary finally. However, the turns are not good for me. I don't want to... Oh, sorry. I do use the Villager to put down the Monument, trying to scrap for points. It'll also get me a little bit of money. Take up province, but it all seems very hopeless in this position. Another Monument for the horse. And I don't think there's a way that my opponent stalls out. They go through most of their deck, all of their deck here. And I decide, well, I've had enough, so I'll click X. We did use rope a lot in that kingdom. It's a decent card. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.